ay la madre.
Flores para tu altar, flores, flores para tu altar. Flores para tu altar, flores, flores para tu altar. Flores para tu altar, flores, flores para tu altar. Flores para tu altar, flores, flores para tu altar. Mira qué tal, mira, mira qué tal. Mira que pesa su cadena y metal. Zapato clava, aquí yo soy la mamá. Con mi motor que ya se cuelga para atrás. Yo te prendo una vela blanca y las claveles que traigo aquí, pa' que quite todo lo mal y las altas que eres en éxtasis. Esta lo quiere pintar y los milagros que te he comprado. Milagros que te he comprado. Kiko eta, Kiko eta. Quiere empujar, quiere empujar. Let's go. Flores para tu altar, flores, flores para tu altar. Flores para tu altar, flores, flores para tu altar. Flores para tu altar, flores, flores para tu altar. Flores para tu altar, flores, flores para. Flores blancas, flores, flores blancas. Está rodeada de pastechi con su malta. Amén. Ay, mi piel se quema. Quítamelo que ya se pesa. Ay, sáname con tu luz. Mira, ve, mira, 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 ve. Él ya se fue y yo contra la pared. Siendo una vela pa' que se resalta. Como brilla la alta nepala. La prendita que lleve mi cruz. Quita la mal, ilumine mi luz. Yeah, 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 yeah. Quita la mal, ilumine mi luz. Yeah, 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 yeah. Kiko eta, Kiko eta. Quiere empujar, quiere empujar. Flores para tu altar, flores, flores para tu altar. Flores para tu altar, flores, flores para tu altar. Flores para tu altar, flores, flores para tu altar. Flores para tu altar, flores, flores para tu altar. Washa, donkey, thank you so much for coming. This is a lot, thank you. Oh, mi amor. Love you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you. What do you mean? What? We should be thanking you.
I really thought people will not come, but people came. Thank you so much. Wow.
Oh, what?
Thank you.
I mean, come on. If you come like this, who is not going to come to see this in real life? Let's be real. Let's get the real applause here, please. Please. Wow, okay. Flores para tu altar.
Flores para tu altar.
I'm waiting for the one that brought the flores for your altar.
Who is that one? Let's go.
We will order the flores for the altar. Okay, they will come. But first, thank you so much. Thank you so much. My name is Luis Aníbal Villegas, and this is
Niño Divino.
Niño Divino, of course, alias the Darwin Winkler. Tonight this is the first time that you're here for Amsterdam Stories. And Amsterdam Stories is a night where people share untold stories of places that you've never heard of from different disciplines. And you particularly are a multidisciplinary artist. So we'll go all deep into the different aspects of your craft, which now include even music.
Yes.
So that's amazing. And it's specifically about your stories relating to where you came from, which is San Nicolas, Aruba, of course.
Yes.
So yes, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for coming. Actually, for real, like it's crazy to prepare such a event like this, and that Pakhuis, have us to hold this event together, and the team that brings this together. It takes complete big team to do it. So you have to really bow down and in reverence to all of them. So thank you, thank you, thank you. This makes it to keep pushing and to keep doing things and to keep manifesting.
Yeah.
Yes.
I have to think when you know, we're sitting in a place like this and you are now so deep in your craft. I remember the first time I saw you, actually, because we know each other now for, I think, 10 years or so, something like that, a decade, wow. And the first time I saw you I was working in San Nicolas in New Food Center, which is a supermarket. And I was packing bags, and the first time I saw you, you were with your siblings, which now also are like part of your team, basically.
Yes.
And it was so amazing for me as a young, also queer person, to see that you were walking in a space that is very, very homophobic, usually. And I could literally see the comments and the homophobic, you know, little things to cut, kind of going behind you guys as you walk into the supermarket, and just the grace that your siblings walk with, literally no even regard to these homophobic comments. It was just amazing and so inspirational for me. So
thank you for that. Thank you for sharing, actually, because when you say that, you bring me back to all of those memories again, and you bring me back all of those trauma that we went together as well. So this is only just the beginning of the power we have to reclaim all of those traumas. So
this is exactly what you're doing, of course, now with the EP, yes, with
exactly.
ANEMOIA, which is very, very interesting how you've now developed this also as a healing ritual for yourself and for others, if I understand it correctly.
Yes, definitely. For this project, it was very important to me to kind of like go back to what was the core of everything, the start of the childhood trauma, right? And for me, it starts at school, it starts at home, it starts with the bully, it starts with all of the things that we don't talk about on Aruba. So I really wanted to kind of like grasp that and take the child by the hand and really let him guide me through this process. Let him guide me to where he wants me to go, certain location, a smell, a person. I just followed. And while I was doing this following, I was also documenting this process. So I found myself with a catalog of beautiful photos, memoir of people, also unlocking different memories while visiting these locations, and make music out of it, and make something that for me, I could play it again, and it could let me go back there, you know? It teleports me back there. And that was the essence of why I started doing this EP. FYI, actually, the EP was not the first thing to come out. It was actually the album. The album was already almost done, and I thought I have to make something to kind of like debut myself first as who I am as a musician, as who I am as I'm a music creator, who I am as a multifaceted artist, and the AP brought that door for me to go back to the child. Yeah.
And when you say you go back and you go back to these memories, the name ANEMOIA is also going a nostalgia for something that wasn't, or that you don't actually know.
No, yeah.
So how does that work with going to explicitly very real memories that you have?
Yeah.
And then this name of the EP, of the unknown.
Yeah, something that I feel like people don't talk about a lot is that when you are going through trauma and doing therapy, most of these things you also forget. You forget about this trauma. And when you forget about them,
it's very difficult for you to go back to what was the point of everything. And for you to find that back, you have to actually go back to that place. You have to actually smell that aroma again. You have to really question again that place. And when you do that, it's like, aha, now I remember how the things were like going through, you know. So, like you said, indeed, the nostalgic part of it is for me, the connectivity was that I could have go back to Aruba and witness these locations again. I could have go back and have a conversation with my best friends when I was in the kleuterschool, right? So those moments for me were beautiful because they also told me more stories that I felt, oh, but I don't remember this. Can you please give me more information about it? And I was like willingly walking with them to guide me and to fill these memories for me again, and to venerate them actually. Yeah.
So I see this also as a recurring theme in your work, where you're going to your heritage and trying to document things that happened in your past or that are happening now even. Yes. Do you see your role as, is this very important to you in your work to be documenting as well? Because of course you can make a beautiful album, which is undoubtedly that's what you're making. But it also comes with almost like this research, this documentation, all of this other stuff of a place that a lot of people, they don't know about.
No.
Aruba, and then even less San Nicolas, which is a part that is even more neglected, let's say, than the whole island.
For sure. For me, the documentation is so fundamental for me, is because a lot of times in the Caribbean they don't document things very well, right? Yep. And so that means that you lose a lot of information, you lose a lot of senses of who you were or your parents were because of the lack of documentation. And something that I like to constantly remind everyone is that Aruba used to be a sanctuary for our ancestry. The periphery of Aruba, where all of the sea are and the big stones, they were using those parts to bury their ancestors, their loved ones. And if you don't dig deep dive into this history, you don't know. So you have to document. You just have to, so you can go back, so you can trace all of the other artists that inspired you. A lot of times we like to use reference or use inspiration from other local artists, but they never put the credit in there. They never say from where they took it. Yeah. You know what I mean? But you need to do that, because that means that you are helping tracing the other local artists that didn't have the chance to show their work in a maximum potential. Then you can help bring their name back and inspire the youngsters. And that's what happened with me, you know, that I could have see all of the catalogs of the great local artists we have on Aruba.
That's an interesting thing to kind of go on just really quick, is how you developed then from how you started, because I know you started at Atelier 89, and that process of taking workshops and preparing for and the eventual education that you would come to get here in the Netherlands, in Amsterdam. How was this process for you to develop now into a multidisciplinary artist?
Of course, I feel like Atelier was a big portal for that. Atelier 89 was that place where, of course, you don't fit up in a box, of course. You get a lot of workshop each month, and these workshops, you can do whatever you can do, which is the painting or sculptures or music or film, you know. Yeah. Atelier prepares you to go there to build your portfolio and to question yourself who you are as a creative. And of course, when you do all of that in one section, that's where you start developing yourself as a multidisciplinary artist, because you question everything you see, and then just do it and experiment on it. Yeah.
For those that don't know, Atelier 89 is basically one of the only art institution that gives classes for people that are interested in the arts in Aruba. And in Aruba, the arts or creativity in general are not very much in high esteem culturally. It's not something that, let's say, the government is investing a lot into it. There are funds, but it's quite limited. Now, before we continue, I wanted to go also on the aspect of the multidisciplinarity. How do you have a favorite medium? How do you now it's like you're mixing everything in there, so
it's so funny because I remember several local artists told me, but what do you do? And actually, like, are you doing fashion, music? What do you do? And but that's the fun part of it, not having a question for it, because you know what you do is a meaningful part of your life to kind of like digest all of the emotions and all of the the trauma you go through and use that in your own advantage. So you cannot just only, like, for example, for me, fashion, I graduated fashion 2 years ago at the Rietveld, but fashion for me at a certain point didn't satisfy me anymore. You know, I was like, but I want to hear fashion. I want to create sound for fashion.
Yeah.
I want to see what this fabric would sound like in a program, you know what I mean? And that's more interesting for me to just do static fashion, you know? So that's the curiosity of doing multidisciplinary work. It's endless, you know? So that's what I like about it. It's a discovery, búsqueda.
Beautiful. So you mentioned that even just for this evening, there's so many people that need to work together. Of course, for a huge project like your EP, ANEMOIA, which is a visual EP as well, there, of course, you need so many people to work together with. And fortunately, we have some of your collaborators tonight to talk more about your work together. And the first one would be Ali Hector. Yes. Aleida, which I know her as Aleida personally.
Yes.
Right to meet Aleida.
That's what it is.
And so she will be joining us just now, if I can get confirmation that she will be joining us.
Yes.
Hi.
Hey.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, fabulous.
Yes, please. Big applause for Ali.
Amazing. So Aleida Hector is a fashion stylist, and you collaborated with NIÑO DIVINO for the visuals, for the look, for the fashion of the EP, which is very interesting. As you can see in some of these pictures, the fashion is always, the clothes are always thought of very intricately, I feel. And how was this process for you? Just really quick, Aleida, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. Oh my goodness. I can't believe that we are here talking about this, because Darwin and I started our friendship talking about fashion on my porch in San Nicolas, and now we are on Zoom, you know, discussing deeper thoughts and topics about it. But the experience was very intense. And as you said, you know, it takes a lot of people. It takes a lot of dedication, but I'm happy that Darwin really opened up his world, because when you are working with Darwin, you are really in his world. Mm-hmm. And it's a matter of following that lead. So it was definitely a process, but the results are stunning. They're stunning.
Yes.
Thank you.
So I had just one question that I find immediately pops in my head is, for example, in this image we see on the left or on the right, whichever you choose, of the flowers with the body of the car, the door. So I believe this is a tercel, is this not? I had a car just like this. I swear.
Yeah, it is.
I had a tercel. You know I had a tercel too, no?
I know.
So this is a car. It's a very like typical Caribbean car associated with this kind of like, you know, street people, like, you know, getting stuff done on the street kind of thing.
Yes, yes.
So my question actually to Aleida and also to you, Darwin, is how is this process for you of giving beauty to a part of the Aruban culture or even a region like San Nicolas, which isn't often regarded in the context of beauty? We don't see, at least on Aruba, we don't see San Nicolas as this beauty. Maybe now we start thinking about it a little bit like that, but historically it's kind of this neglected area. How do you feel about this, Aleida?
You know, I would say that part of loving something or someone is to accept them the way they are, accept them for what it is, and embracing it for what it is. And through the process of coming up with styling and also hairstyling for the project, Darwin and I spoke a lot about what we would see growing up in terms of how our people engage with fashion, because it's very day to day, and not everybody is part of that conversation. At least they think that they're not part of the conversation, but there is still a culture, and we in talking and loving it for what it is and not trying to change it, is where we were able to come up with the details, let's say in the hair, with the balabonchis is what I would call them. Right? So to me, it feel, I don't know how you feel about it, Darren, but that is, to me, it's really just accepting it for what it is and what it means also to us that are from that area.
Yes. For sure. The fun part for me, the entire part actually with Aleida, was that we could have understand each other what we were talking about.
Of course, yeah.
Because not only we come from San Nicolas, but when I told her about like the kids with the bolabonchis at Claytor School, do you know what I mean? Like amigas.
It's immediate, you know.
It's, you know it. And these were like the elements for me that I thought I have to stay true and authentic to the culture, to San Nicolas. If I'm going to do a project centrated in San Nicolas, then I cannot romanticize it. I just have to grab that door, tercel door, and just use it how it was. You know, how it was just crashed, and that's it. Because that is the beauty in it. That is actually the story behind the crash, and of course the pain as well in it. But all of that was the veneration. All of that was part of the fashion. How we will use the San Nicolas elements, but zhuzh it up into who is NIÑO Divino.
Yeah, that's interesting, because what you mentioned, Aleida, is that to accept something as it is, right? And I think if I connect it to your broader work, is something that you try to do, maybe I feel, if I'm interpreting too much, but because in Aruba, there's this almost like culture to conform, to have a beautiful family, to have a beautiful... to everything to be nice and just as the way it should be, even in the way that the island market itself towards the world in tourism. You know, we're this happy island, but you don't see what goes on behind. What is that facade? So is that something that you also try to connect with in your work, Aleida, when you collaborate with people like Darwin? To view this, even this darkness within the beauty?
Well, I am actually, it's interesting you bring this up because the name of the name and hashtag that I choose to work under is Judged by Ali, Judge. And judge means to make something more beautiful or interesting. It doesn't mean to change it. So in my styling world, I always tell people I style from the inside out. I style the soul first. I'm hearing stories first. And it can be challenging being a part of a community where you have to, we live off of tourism. So, you know, it's part of our brand and we sell it, we embrace it. It's the reason why we have been given so many luxuries as a small island in the Caribbean. But I try also not to, I try not to worry about that part too much and just listen to each voice individually, because that voice of tourism can be very loud, right?
Yes. Yeah.
And you just try to just focus on what you're doing, and you know that that machine will keep going no matter what you do, you know? That machine will keep going. But no, it's, and then going back to, you know, being in St. Nicholas, it's very far away from all of that. So when you take the drive from, let's say, Palm Beach to St. Nicholas, there's a definite feeling of leaving that behind.
Yes.
Leaving the rat race of, you know, progreso and turismo and the hustle. When you take the drive to St. Nicholas, it's a very different atmosphere. And it kind of forces you to be like, okay, this is where we are. It forces you to slow down. Every single drive is a slap in the face back to reality. So for me, it's not very difficult to live in the duality of both sides of the island, which I frequent very often.
Yeah, I see you on Instagram very often. You're in this very touristic part, and then you know, with this fancy stuff, and styling people that, you know, might be influencers or something. But then I always think in the back of my head, like, okay, but you know, I know at the end of the day you go back home and it's not in that environment.
Well, you know, but by no means I do not live. I am not. Hoe zeg je? I did not grow up wanting, you know. So again, it's in my styling world. I see it as also styling the island. You know, I style Aruba. I've had the privilege of styling for many hotels, for our tourism board, and those moments I'm very proud of as well. But I am happy that because of the duality of being able to work in the touristic side, because of the duality of me living in St. Nicholas, I do understand the realities of both situations. And it brings me back to what I said before about styling inside out, is knowing, accepting someone for what they are, rather than trying to change them and just enhancing their beauty. So when I'm in the duality of Palm Beach, I accept it for what it is. And then when I'm blessed with opportunities like this one to style and actually just help Darwin communicate his thoughts with us through fashion and styling, I can also come back there and just listen and accepting that moment for what it is, and styling it and making it interesting and beautiful for what it is, just like how I would in a Palm Beach area.
Yeah, thank you so much. One last question I'm really curious is how even to turn lyrics and a message and, you know, these cultural influences of religion, etc., the tercel, to translate that into fashion. How do you do that?
Well, for me, like, I've always seen objects as a friend, you know. I always intend to work from a perspective of a child. I have to just go there, you know. So when I start with every process or another work or a new work, I have to turn these objects and I have to play with them and I have to throw them and deconstruct them again and put them again together. See it more as a toy. And then from there on, while you're doing all of these gestures with these objects, for example, the tercel, you start loving the car for actually what it is. You start loving for the authenticity that's like the car that a lot of people cannot like afford like expensive cars, so they will go for a tercel. So you see a lot of tercels in Aruba, but that's what makes Aruba so charming as well, you know, is the sincerity. And of course, tercel was also driven by men mostly, and most of these men were, I was a victim of these men, you know, from the macho culture we have in Aruba. So that means for me as well, when I see a tercel, it's also a trauma for me. So it's my duty to get close back to that car, to that feeling of the person sitting there and doing bully, and to actually caress him, talk with him, wash the car, sing with the car, you know. And that's for me how I translate, I heal sana by actually going to what has hurt me, and tercel was one of them. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Yeah.
Wow. So, Aleida, I understand you are also limited in time, and unless you want me to ask you another question,
you can ask me another question.
Okay, let's see what I can drop for you.
Yes.
So what I understood from what you said is also that the fashion, if I understood it correctly, is that you, with your styling, is you're also trying to bring forth the story of the person that's inside of them, and to translate that into something that other people can see. So this fashion, the styling that you do is also some kind of storytelling, and that goes together also with this EP, that it's very much it's storytelling. So how do you view this storytelling angle to fashion then, or styling?
Thank you for that. I'm so happy I stayed on for this question. Nobody has asked me that before. Thank you. You know, it is very, at times, I'm going to be very honest. It can be lonely. It can be very lonely because on the surface, right, fashion is very luxurious, and it's, you know, it's for the je ne sais quoi, and it's you know, from the outside it could seem like it's not for everyone.
Yeah.
But I'm someone who is very interested in people, and fashion had an impact on me and how I felt and how I presented myself. Being in a big city, coming from San Nicolas, and then moving to New York City in my 20s, and that is where I honestly saw the impact of what fashion can have for your daily life, and I lived it and I experienced it. So coming back to Aruba and seeing how, going from being on the trains and seeing an item on the runway, and then seeing it on the train station, and then moving back to Aruba, and then realizing that some of the things that we see on TV or in magazines, when we had them on the island at the time, we may never see them on the island. So access to fashion is very limited. And, you know, with working with Dadwin, we had a lot of conversations prior to him coming to the island, exchanging pictures and voice notes about what he should bring that maybe we may not be able to find on the island when he gets here. You know, and going to La Linda and La Linda being closed when it was, you know, so it's not easy. So if you want to be part, that's why I'm saying it can be lonely. Yeah. Because in order to have the conversation, to me, the pieces that you choose to work with are the language. Yeah. And, you know, our access to that language is very limited. So because of that, I think kind of by default, I forced myself to look at fashion in a different way and kind of personalize it and talk about people, because if I spend too much time talking about, you know, the fancy thing, the fancy side of fashion, we are very, very far away from the access of the very fancy, glamorous conversation of fashion. And in personal styling, when you style people, you have to talk to them. You have to find out who they are. Yep. And once you find out who they are, then you can tell their story. Every single piece of clothing, including in Dadwin's project. And I'm looking at the album cover, and I'm just the stories, just by breaking down the stories of the pieces that he's wearing on the album cover. There's a lot of stories there. So it's just a matter of allowing yourself to be a vehicle, a medium for the items and the fashion to tell their own story. If you understanding what I'm trying to say.
Yes, yes, of course, yes. No, thank you so much for your also this insight into how this collaboration went. And I can see already why you would collaborate together, besides the aspect of San Nicolas, is that I feel like that you can see eye to eye on a lot of different things. I see you nodding the whole time she's speaking. So.
Yes, completely. Like, this is how we would sit in her living room and just having deep conversations for hours and hours, just only about what we're gonna wear, styling, you know. And I have to mention this, but there were a time that actually I didn't want to do fashion anymore, and Aleida was the person who inspired me again to do fashion again. To actually come to the Netherlands and do fashion. So I really wanted to share that with you, love. Thank you so much for that. That's why I cherish you so much. Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm speechless. I'm going to cry if I say anything. So, yeah, great.
No, thank you so much. Thank you so much. And thanks for joining us. If you're interested in Aleida's work, please find her as Judged by Ali, as she mentioned earlier. Yes. Mm-hmm. And thank you for sharing also about La Linda. You had all the Caribbean people in the aisle laughing. Like, bye-bye.
Legend. Thank you so much, guys. Congratulations, Dadwin, and everybody
else. Thank you so much, love.
Bye.
So now we go to, of course, we're here to talk and go deep on the album itself, the EP. But we're also here to listen to it. So we're going to play the first two tracks of the EP, which are Marado Dijero Vida. Y, of course, the piece you just performed, Flores para tu altar.
Yes, I hope you guys like it. Yeah, take it away. Thank you so much, guys. I don't know what to say. Does this speaker do justice? No joke.
Oh my God.
That was track 1, Marolo di Hero, Pida. This track for me was very reminiscent to my grandpa. And the devotion of him coming every morning to say hi to my mother, always knocking on the door, always saying, "Hey, Butej, Jeannie, are you there?" And he would always come and bite us on the arm as a signature of love. So we would go to school every morning with a bite on our arms. And I felt like that was so traumatic as a kid. But at the same time, it's so beautiful as well, because that's how I remember him. And I felt like I had to honor him. I had to start. That's like the start of the going to school each morning. That's for him. And of course, it connects in different other levels as well. But that's for me the layers of why I wanted to write it, and also bring different meanings and symbolisms of things that he would use to wear on his neck, a charm, the gesture he would do as a person. So such a gentleman he was. So I really also wanted to kind of like open the EP with it. So yeah.
Wow. I have to be honest, the first time I heard this was at Amsterdam Fashion Week, where you performed a kind of a preview for the people that were there. And I was really like, tears were coming out of my eyes when you played this song specifically. And then I asked you about it, like, oh, yeah, something with this song. I don't know, I feel like there's so much emotion in it. And then you told me it's because you're remembering and you're honoring your grandfather. Yeah. And that was just like, ooh, I felt it even before I knew, you know?
No, thank you. Like I said, you know, I feel like we as person, we can forget so quickly about our elders, and we can so easy pass through their life journey, you know, because they're old or they cannot do certain things anymore. Those are the moments that you have to cherish them the most. And document them as much as possible. And of course, like I said, in my household, documentation was not that prominent. So I don't have much memories of my, or photos or much memories of my grandfather. But I knew that just this small gesture of coming every morning and biting on my arm is something already very meaningful to me. So. Yeah.
So we're supposed to go to track 2, but I see we also have Natusha here to talk. Natusha is one of the collaborators, amazing collaborators. You're getting the same reaction as me as the first time I heard this track. You're getting all teared up. Aww.
Blatantly. Wow. See.
Wow.
Yeah. No, I mean,
wow.
Wow, you can see me. Okay. I'm seeing myself, so it's a bit. I'm just completely immersed in this experience. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for joining.
Moderating so swiftly, so beautifully. Luisito, I miss so much.
Oh my God. I love you.
Hey. That went. I remember with this song, it was funny because, you know, I'm just so many angles to enter the song to, but the first thing that came to me in anticipation to hear it was, oh my God, I remember that day when I had to go and record Genie, you, what they, you know, and I remember working at that time also on another production, or on, I believe it was on my own production, and I was with Sammy Shachmi Films, and you know, and I was like in this honoring setting, so I was intentionally coming there, and I was coming so fiercely. And I remember telling Darwin's brother, because at first, you know, I was with a Zoom microphone, and I was trying to grasp a little bit of the ambiente, trying to scan and almost like transmit the spiritness of this beautiful field, which is the the ancestors of Darwin's location of being, of growing. And I was feeling so determined and almost on this mission, right? Like, this must be immaculate, you know? and the children of his brother was there, and the partner, and everybody was like, oh my God, you know, he needs to perform he has to channel his ancestor, you know, his grandfather. He has to embody, he has to connect, you know. And at first I'm like, okay, show me what you got. I just throw you into the deep. Let's see what you have, you know, to just kind of assess the situation. And he was super nervous. So obviously, when you have to go into that transmission, there's a lot of fear involved, right? And how am I able to embody this grand man for which reason I am here, you know? And he did it. And
it's like, a lot of pressure. It's a lot of pressure, isn't it? Yeah.
No. And I had to kind of tap on him and connect with his heart and make him close his eyes and like, hey, let's listen. Let's go back down the memory lane, you know. Let's remember this being. Let's ask, you know. Let's ask permission to come back at this point in time and give honor and reverence to a new beginning of a day and the importance of family, you know, and the importance of heritage. So the next time, you know, he came and it's like power, assertiveness. He lives in you. He's in your DNA, you know. And coaching brother of Darwin through this process of connecting deeply with his roots, no? And he did it so beautifully. I mean, I'm shaking, goosebumps, the whole phenomena. And I was like, yeah, you know, and just being brought to so many dimensions and spaces after working on this project so intimately with Darwin for like 2 years, 3 years, since the album, you know, since forever.
It's a long process, no? We're
soulmates, we're soul beings, we're soul things, you know, and that is what I feel as well with the collective artistic community of Aruba, you know, and it brings me to tears to feel this arising, you know, this coming into power, coming into our stories, coming into the revelation of who we truly are, opening up the wounds, tending them, looking back, you know, and
amazing. Yeah. So we will come back to that. But first we're going to listen to track 2 because actually I went to you, Natusha, but we're supposed to listen to track 2 first. But it's just so beautiful how you were having this moment. So now we go to track 2 and then we'll go back to you, Natusha.
Let's go. Track 2, Flores para tu altar.
Flores para tu altar.
Ore aguacero, paguerayo di solo. No lo batí más sombra cruzando mi caminda. Oscuridad purísima. Esa quita mi cargo. E manto protectora. Refugio eterno. Pintami ángel ang bonita. Pasina hibami na mi caminda. Esa quita pavo. Esa que matrece pavo. Flores para tu altar. 3. Flores para tu altar, flores, flores para tu altar. Flores para tu altar, flores, flores para tu altar. Flores para tu altar, flores, flores para tu altar. Flores para tu altar, flores, flores para tu altar. Mira qué tal, mira, mira qué tal. Mira que pesa su cadena y metal. Zapato clava, aquí yo soy la mamá. Con mi motor que ella se cuelga para atrás. Yo te pongo una vela blanca y las claveles que traigo aquí. Pa' que quite todo lo mal y las altezas que des en éxtasis. Esta lo quiere pintar y lo milagro que te he comprado. Milagro que te he comprado. ¿Qué pinta? Kiko está, Kiko está. Quiere empujar, quiere empujar. Flores para tu altar, flores, flores para tu altar. Flores para tu altar, flores, flores para tu altar. Flores para tu altar, flores, flores para tu altar. Flores para tu altar, flores, flores para. Flores blancas, flores, flores blancas. Está rodeada de pastechi con su malta. Amén. Ay, mi piel se quema. Quítamelo que ya se pesa. Ay, sáname con tu luz. Mira, ve, mira, 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 ve. Ella se fue y yo contra la pared. Siendo una vela pa' que se resalta. Como brilla la alta de espalda. La prendita que lleve mi cruz. Quita la mala, ilumine mi luz. Yeah, 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 yeah. Quita la mala, ilumine mi luz. Yeah, 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 yeah. Kiko está, Kiko está. Quiere empujar, quiere empujar. Flores para tu altar, flores, flores para tu altar. Flores para tu altar, flores, flores para tu altar. Flores para tu altar, flores, flores para tu altar. Flores para tu altar, flores, flores para tu altar.
Thank you, guys. Thank you so much.
Oh my gosh. I love how you're just like, thank you.
You know, for me, it's we've been working so hard on this for so long that I'm like, let's put it out already. You know, let's go. I want to share with people and let people dance on it and be inspired and whatever it is. So I'm like, already, thank you so much. And it's just so overwhelming, you know, to see it on also a big screen like this. And so yeah, thank you.
Yes. Yes. So we're gonna go to Natusha, which of course collaborated with you. Natusha Cruz collaborated with you on this EP. Natusha is a multidisciplinary artist as well. Performance is what you focus on these days, is of course. And recently you also released a single, actually, yeah. So that's also very beautiful. You also have an alias, Caricia Art. So how did you guys get to know each other, actually? Because, I mean, I shared how I got to know Daru, and I want to know the story behind you guys, too.
Do you want to go, Natusha?
Yes, for sure. Yes, I guess, yeah, the connective tissue for a lot of us as a sanctuary that Atelier 89 offers now for the other, the misfits, the ones that questions, the ones that have that creative force kind of beaming out of them, no? And I remember it was very like, it's always very easy to kind of connect and synergize with that immaculate energy of pure creative force and energy. And I think that was the case with Darwin. I remember I was doing different programs because after I finished high school, I'm very humanity oriented. So I'm not, you know, I was like, okay, what am I gonna do? You know, I have no idea. And I was like, okay, no, my father and some other also misfits and cultural laborers started pointing in the direction of the atelier as the place and the hub where you can meet people and explore and expand. So it was on these fields, I believe it was for Art Rules Aruba, where we first kind of like, you know, swiftly had this moment of like, you look fabulous, like amazing, and just very this need to elogiar and give appreciation and acknowledgement to an empoderamiento to like, yeah, I'm just gonna be who I am, you know, even more so and regardless of what others say. And that was our mutual encounter. And then, of course, there was this synergy, you know, and this enthusiasm for elogiamiento and for empoderamiento that came through our moments of meeting each other in the hallway, or, you know, like, hey, you know, like just chatting about art so passionately like we do, like we put a lot of color and sauce and texture and volume and, you know, everything, all the dimensions to what we do, so much passion. So on that passion string, we started kind of weaving, I believe, our beautiful friendship, collaboration, you know, kind of spiritedness and sustenance, even life force for being who we are and pursuing regardless and even like fearlessly what we believe in. And so and from there on, a beautiful relationships just started kind of developing on our necessity to keep pushing the boundaries, keep growing, keep questioning and pushing each other in both because creativity or creative practices lives in the realm of the spirit, right? And I believe there's a huge split, right? There's the necessity for the spirit to be limitlessly what it wants to be, regardless of the physical limitations that we encounter and also these other societal limitations that come to be. We are dancing, I believe, in between and being materia, you know, being humans with our emotional spectrum, with our doubts, with our fear, but having this creative force illuminating our path forward. This creative force comes with so much passion, love, and that kind of interweaves and makes the way for amazing collaborations, and I think creative tapestries, which is kind of our story in like a grasp.
What's your side of the story? You know, there's always more angles to the story.
No, that was it. That's for sure what it was actually. I think for me it was much more kind of. Natusha was always that quirky girl, outgoing, and I felt already like she had a very eclectic way of dressing, and I also had a way of dressing, so I felt like we really connected in that situation first, and then slowly we built beautiful relationships, and I knew that she was doing Rietveld at that time, and I was still at Atelier 89, and then I remember she came back to Aruba, and then we really connected more strongly because we had the same energy, the same feeling of art and love and passion. So it just kept growing in a yin and yang material wife and husband.
These are very heteronormative terms, but okay, we'll dig it in this context. Because it's a beautiful story, yes.
Yeah, that's my part.
But it's interesting to see, especially how you guys both have a similar inspiration in the sense of like you're inspired by your upbringing, Aruba as a cultural context, And what I see in Natusha's work as well is that you also focus on this, on Aruba and the environment. But I see that you focus more on this connection to the earth, this kind of, but there's also this element of spiritual practice mixed with creativity that I see that both of you guys have. So how did you both develop this? I'm very curious to see this spirituality within the creativity.
Yeah.
You want to go first, Love?
Yes. Okay. Let's go. I want to say though, like, hey, sometimes who is the husband? I might be the husband, you know.
Yeah.
Like, being performed all the time.
Yes.
Femininity and masculinity is a fluid concept, and I'm dancing in between.
You won me over.
Yes, no. So Aruba as a context is very hard on the reason, I believe, why we do what we do, and even like I guess the source, no, from which we are emanating this new possibility, this new reality, which I believe our practices and our artworks are enabling or awakening in others. My initial kind of incentive towards creation started actually because of my family being so involved with the music scene on the island. So I was from a young age already performing whatever possibility for creative expression came with the rituals that are very known in Aruba and celebrated in Aruba, which is Carnival, Pasco, sparkling tour, you name it, you know, whatever participation or possibility for expression came to be, we arrived to the occasion, no? And what happened is that on Aruba, of course, there's not that infrastructure that we have in the Netherlands, where you have a more developed, I guess, visual arts scene. There are and were in the 80s just like an eclectic group of the first kind of pioneers, you can say, that did the crossing of the Atlantic, went to an academy and started getting doused and mestizado with a more like, Westerner way of perceiving art and seeing art as belonging to actually memory, no? To our collective memory, to not use the word history because it's not only his story, but so from that kind of menguamiento, I think the curiosity came to be. In my case, I am a very sensorial, sense-oriented, sensual, elemental being. So one of the first things that I experienced when the phenomena of heimwee kind of knocked on my door, it wasn't precisely the people. It was the island and how the island feels. Like I miss, of course, Bom Fim de Aya, which was the occasion for most celebration on the island, and going back into festive ways of being. But it was also the elemental kind of deities guiding me back home and keeping me coming back towards Aruba, that need to touch, the need to immerse, the need to contemplate upon the sublimity of Aruba's landscape. So I allowed it. And sometimes it feels very much like a sacrifice, because I'm like with the plants, I'm like, yo, nobody gets it. Nobody wants to drink tea of Bitonica anymore. They don't believe in Basura Prieto, and they definitely don't feel the indigenous heritage, and they don't want to strip off and just feel the beautiful textures of your sand. So I don't know what I'm doing here, yo. Please, where should I go? And they just, they're like, no, just come to us. Just come to, you don't have to speak to the people. You just avoid them. Just come, let people just come to us and immerse and practice. And that is where Caricia came to be. So Caricia is this method of surrendering completely to this necessity to feel embodiedly the sense of belonging to the island. And from that embodied sense of being, because of course Western is very much from the the torso up. You know, we're a lot in the head. We're a lot about logical events and being analytical and having answers. The body doesn't belong to linear time. The body belongs to cycles and processes and shedding, and the body is fluid, right?
That's why it's more about feeling for you then, I suppose.
Yeah, it's about feeling, and it's about surrendering to another way of being and knowing through the body. So Caricia was a way of reclaiming that necessity for all of us, you know, to see actually the body as the temple once again, and to connect it to the source of memory that lives in the landscape of the island. So that became transmuted and transformed for me in a multidisciplinary cartography, where it became different songs, movements, pieces, talismanes, things that were created as remnants, as residue of our conversation. You know? And so, but
how was this like for the collaboration then? Because you work together. Of course, you also produce something now, you produced her thing as well. I saw. Yeah. So, but then how did this collaboration go? Like, is it more of a sound thing? What do we have to imagine?
No, the thing is that for me, that I knew that I was going to film an entire body of work, and I knew that I was going to get very emotional, very I had to have my own moments. So that means that as well, like, I knew that I had to also work with people that I could have be myself, like 24/7, and also understood my work to the core of what everything means, and the symbolism and the color and the sound and how I want things to be. Because sometimes I can be very perfectionist, and I knew that Natusha was the right person to do that. Not only that, she guided me through this beautiful journey of my AP, but she have been there guiding me through my journey in academics and helping me, doing the works of thesis, and what is a thesis, how to approach it. And so Natusha has been a mentor for me since a young kid already. So Natusha knows my work from top to bottom, bottom to top. And there was no way other person that I wanted to work more than Natusha. Because she really, if she says like she's going to put like 100% in it, it's 100%. And I'm like that as well. Like, I like people like that. Like eye to eye, head to head, and we go together. We die together. So that's how we work. You know, that's how the ethic we go. And that's Natusha. Natusha is that power driver for me. Wow.
So we have also some footage behind the scenes. I believe you added this into it. Yes.
Yes, sure. Well, actually, the photos that you see right now.
I thought it was a video.
Sorry?
They're photos.
You do the drawings, you mean, or?
No, the behind the scenes.
Oh, these are the behind the scenes, for sure. And what you can see here on the screen with all of the drawings, I did all of these scenes. These were the scenes for all of the other visuals that's coming out that you guys didn't see yet.
So this is like storyboarding.
Like I was storyboarding, like already, like kind of like visualize what I want to see, how I want to see it, the people, and I had people in mind already. For these visuals, you know, and then you can see Ken, a wonderful director, artist in general. You can see the team that we were working with, Jasmine doing the makeup, Sammy doing the behind the scenes, and then you have Jeng, is the assistant of Ken Wolf. So it took a team to do all of this. You know, it was not 1, 2, 3. We had to really plan the dates, plan the time, plan everything to make this happen. You know, find the props, you name it. It takes time, and I think a lot of us or a lot of people can easily
forget that there's so much work that goes behind it, right?
There's so much behind it. Also, not only that, but I feel like a lot of us can be so much like criticizing artists so quickly and seeing actually all of the work that they put into this. Yeah.
We have a video as well, if you can play it.
Yeah, sure. Go for it. I think it was the behind the scenes.
Yes.
Track 1, Marado di Hero, Vida. So track 1, Marado di Hero, was the first track we shot for the AP on Aruba. To the school I went as a kindergarten. It's called Commandeur Pieter Boer School.
So nostalgic to me to be in Sander Bogarts, used to be Pieter Boer. So I hope I do justice to my childhood memories.
For me, it was very important to go back and to bring all of the reminiscence, all of the beautiful memories I had there at school, playing with my amigas, with my friends. The nostalgia to go back to that same road I used to walk with my mother and my siblings and my brothers to go to school. That was kind of like the beautiful nostalgia that I was longing for, that I had to go back and walk that path again. And to wake up early, like I used to wake up to go to school at 7 and witness that sun again, that beautiful horizon coming up, the birds, the chirps of the birds, the sounds of the car passing by, and the people already, you know, preparing their kids next to their like veranda, you know. There was such a thing that for me was all of those sounds, all of those visuals, all of those sentimental values I had to bring them back within Marado di Hero, but of course in my own way. It took an entire team to really come together with makeup and hair and behind the scenes and videographer and the stylists, the props, everything had to come together. So all of my vision that I had in my head to venerate this visual, this scene that I really wanted to give back to the school needed to come to life.
Yeah, amazing.
Like how you can see, it takes time, effort, people, an entire army to build this. But it's also the people who you choose to build it with.
Of course.
And that's the beautiful memory I wanted to have for this project.
Wow,
yeah.
Beautiful. So I had one last question before we can continue to the next songs. And it's just a small thing, and if you can answer just shortly, because we don't have so much time. But it's something I noticed because both of you are writing music now in Papiamento, but also with this Spanish element in it. I know the song that you released, is Sondeo, I believe it's called, Natusha. That's mainly in Papiamento, but I saw that you will bring more Spanish as well. So what was this decision to do Papiamento mainly, and then also with some Spanish, or vice versa?
Yeah, for me, it was very easy because we also intend to forget that most of our musicians on Aruba used to go to Venezuela to record their songs. Mm-hmm. And so my father used to collect vinyls. He used to be a DJ, and so you have a lot of like artists or local artists and when I listened to these vinyls again, they were singing in Spanish. That's how they would communicate more easier when they go to Venezuela.
Of course.
So I thought, okay, I should bring this back with me.
Nice.
So that's how actually it came about. But I knew that also when we are in Aruba, we intend to mix all language with each other. Yeah. And this was the case for me as well. Give it my own flair, my own street vibe, my own upbringing. So yeah. That's basically what it was.
Lovely.
Yeah.
What about you for Natusha? Before we move on, you also chose to use this. So instead of, a lot of times people go, oh no, I'm gonna do it in English, you know, because then you can reach a broader audience or something. But you very consciously chose English, Spanish and Pavimento. What was your choice there?
I believe it's a multilingual kind of honoring and approach. No? On the island, we navigate, in my case, and for many people, in between at least 4 to 5 languages. So you are able to kind of shapeshift in all of these different cultural contexts. And for me as well, there's this link that my ancestors, parts of my ancestors passed from Madeira to Venezuela and lived in Venezuela for a long time before they come to Aruba. So in my household, it was a whole soppy mix, you know. We had a bit of Spanish, we had a bit of Portuguese, we had a bit of English, because my mom would come with the influence of the tourism industry and with her tourist friends into the family. So this sense of like multilinguality is very much present. And on a day-to-day, you're shifting in between Papiamento, English, and Spanish easily, because it's just, you know, the cultural context of the island. So I believe to remain authentic to that, no? And to remain really like, if you're not only just creating music to create hits, you're trying to tell a very authentic story from a very particular angle and really show a diverse spectrum of what it means to be from Aruba in the Caribbean.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Natusha, for joining us. It was such a pleasure to have you. It's so nice to see you as well. And yeah, thanks so much. And if anyone wants to follow Natusha's journey, you can do so through her Instagram, caricia.art. So yes, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much, love.
We're going to continue now to the next tracks. Yes. Are you going to stay and listen, Natusha? I saw you dancing in the previous one. So the next one is called Double Bike. Let's go.
Hay un retrato clavado de pena, lleno de joyas de Magdalena. Sus ojos alumbran como la luna. Brillaba la ruta de nuestra cura. Por la mañana con mis hermanos, mejor compañero dando la mano. En mi mochila hay pan con chubi. Peter por mí lo va y canta fe. De niño rezar a la Santa Fe. Silvia, mi profe querida, cómo te veneré. fe querida, cómo te veneré. Sin miedo, mamá, sin miedo.
You know what's so funny is that I'm very nervous. Let's start there. Because when I'm making these songs, it's in my room all alone. And when it's time to put it out, you don't know how people will perceive it. You don't know how people will feel about it. But the one thing I know is that I hope that people could connect with it in any way or form. Could be in the beats, the lyrics, or memory, in color, however you want. Thank you. Thank you so much. So, you know, so for me, like, to sit here and listen to my songs again and having an audience listening to me, with me, it's very emotional and it's very also confronting. So I would like to really thank you guys for really being here and listen to it with me and having that patience that I had making these songs in my room. So thank you so much, really. Thank you.
Thank you.
So yeah, like I said, double bike is a bit of, double bike, long bike. That's such a cultural thing we have on Aruba, you know. And I felt like I'm going to take my child to the back seat, and I'm going to have a ride with him. And that ride was all the memories, the family memories, the mother memories, the teacher memories, especially Frau Silvia.
Peter Boerschol.
Peter Boerschol, that's my favorite teacher who really taught me a lot and supported me already as a authentic young kid.
Wow.
So so this is for all of them, actually, going on a ride with them. Yeah.
Beautiful, beautiful. So we're going to the next song then, and that is Malditas Lágrimas. It feels like you're in a novela, you know, like.
Niño en el cielo, no quiere escuchar, lo cortamos como la Van Gogh. Si no hay sangre, no hay lluvia. Lo que es carne, reencarna. Mano de combate, se echa pa'lante. Tira la semilla pa' que explotan las granadas. Mi pana es tipo que dalmi, espero aquí con mi mati. Te enseño aquí con mi team, es buraco manera yo team. Machete aquí, machete allá, como la lata maní. Machete aquí, te corto allá, blequi de pinga mitad. Limpia mi pie, como una pecador, te apartaré, lejos de lo traidor, prometeré, te libero de los temores, de los temores y los temor, de los temor. Chabelita, Chabelita, hasta piora, a los que juran solamente son la sombra. Aquí no quiere escuchar, lo cortamos como la Van Gogh. Aquí no quiere escuchar, lo cortamos como la Van Gogh.
Oh my God, thank you so much. This is definitely the most aggressive song on the EP. So it's about basically all of the bulliers and the gang members to kind of like, I'm reclaiming the words, if I can use it, Mariko. I'm reclaiming that word, it's mine, it no longer does any harm to me. And with this song, I wanted to let go, wanted to venerate it. And as well, when you see the music video for it, it's like I am cleaning their car, I am throwing everything they left behind for them, and help them heal as well. So it's not anything, it's not any angry connotations towards them, but actually kind of like, come, hold my hand and let's burn it together, you know? So,
Wow.
yeah.
I think it also touches on what we talked about earlier with Aleida about, you know, appreciating it and loving something for what it is. And, you know, you kind of, what I feel like what this is doing is you're talking to this homophobia, this trauma of you know, abuse towards homosexual people. And you're saying, you know, that was wrong what you did, but we will heal from it together.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, definitely. That's exactly how it was actually for me. To really like dedicate the song to them, to let's dance together. That's what it is.
Beautiful, beautiful. So we have questions now that we can take from the audience. So if you have any questions, please feel free to ask because it's your time now. It's your time to shine. Let's go. I see a question over here. Do we have the mic with the question? Yes? Oh, awesome. Thank you. So the question is over there. We have one over there.
Sorry, was that a question? Yeah, a question for Darwin. The topic was already touched upon shortly towards Natusha, but like one of the things that struck me most in your story was like the pivotal point of embracing your heritage was a kind of genuine mystical experience. And I was wondering, like, how does in your artistic practice, like, comes the role of the artist as a medium and a healer in a spiritual sense? Also beyond the notion of heritage and ancestrality, like how does that play a role in your life and artistic practice?
Wow. Thank you for that. For sure. Okay, we have to digest this question, right?
So yeah, it had several elements. The first part was, if I understood it correctly, that so the aspect of healing. How do you see the role of the artist as a healer? It's something to that effect.
Yeah, exactly. Definitely. For me, it has always been a healing method for me when of my work. So that means that, for example, I grew up watching my mother doing rituals. I grew up watching her doing these cathartic cleansing rituals. So of course, as a kid, you also ask yourself, like, what is my mom doing, you know? So you also have to question yourself in that. So when I did that, I also came to realize that she was performing syncretism. And syncretism was the mix between Catholicism and Afro-Caribbean practices combining together. So, so that means that this ritual I also adopted, and most of the times we also neglect this in the community on Aruba, and we also see this ritual much more at the back of the household, and then we condemn them as taboo, as witches, witchcraft. You know what I mean? So this means that actually, it's not. It could be all and beyond on that, but we used to practice it for healing. That was what it was at first. We are kunukeros. We are. How we called it in kunukero.
Arbeiders,
like
farmers,
shamans.
Yeah.
And we forget about that, you know. So basically, when now the society of Aruba see the things that I am doing, they would say that I'm doing things that is like the devil, you know. I'm worshiping the devil, but actually, we've been doing this since ever, you know.
That goes back to the documentation. This is not something that people are. That's not continued. Let's say, right?
Exactly, exactly. So I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid to show that. I'm not afraid to show Aruba that this is what we are, and we should embrace it. We should take it by the hand, and we should actually start practicing it and use that as a way of decolonizing. I hope I answer your question.
Yeah, you had a second element to your question, but I think he covered it, right? Yeah, good, awesome.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for the question. So who else has a question and wants to be? Oh, nice. Okay, we have here in the front on the left, or it would be your right, but yeah. Sorry, I forgot your name also. That would be great.
Hi.
Sorry for you, I forgot your name.
Hi everybody. My name is Justin Cruz. I just want to say at first a comment I want to say is that I'm really happy to be part of this, to be part of your, you know, to show your vulnerability and your strength to all of us throughout your music, throughout your multidisciplinary approach. It's so beautiful. I feel really emotional. I feel like, in a way, it's like you're a certain kind of projection where I can really understand where you're coming from, and it's really, it's really beautiful. I just want to say that a question about it is that how did you start using the, you know, the trauma, the vulnerable aspect? How did you start using it? How did you come out? How did you have the courage to come out and be able to be so open about it and to show us, you know, that part of your world?
I have to go back. Thank
you
you for the question. I have to go back to Juffrouw Sylvia. Juffrouw Sylvia was that teacher who taught me that already that young, being queer, being gay, being myself was accepted. Even though that I had a lot of bullying happening around me, she really, yes, oh my God. Oh. Let me get my shit together. So when I see these photos are like exactly Juffrouw Sylvia giving me the hat. So Juffrouw Sylvia really mean a lot to me, actually, because I feel like if it wasn't for her, I didn't stay the authentic self of me, my own personality. She just taught me that being me was okay, and she protected me the entire school year. So. So, yeah, wow. Oof. So by going back, that means that with that strength and power, I also realized that we don't have much power like this in the queer community in Aruba or in the Caribbean in general. So that means that I also have to be that voice for those kids and step up for them and educate them and to educate also Aruba that this is normal. We've been here for a long time already, like wake up and if you don't do it, no one will, you know? So I want to do it for those kids, actually. So, yeah. 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 It's by only empowering yourself, only grasping everything that happened to you as a trauma and actually confront them, put them in front of you and battle with them. Don't run away from them and see everything through light, through prosperity. That's how I see it. Because I've kind of easy go to a different path and not do this at all because of the bulliers, you know. But I did it because for us. Yeah.
Yes, we have another question in the front and one in the back. There's two questions, so we will answer these two questions. If there's someone else with a question, raise your hand now or forever be silenced. Okay, there's only two. We confirm there's two, because then we will make... Oh, there's a third one here. No? Okay, two. So can we give it to the person in the front, sorry, because he raised his hand first. Raise your hand, please. Yes,
Hi,
your name,
Darren.
please.
Hey, love.
Hey. So I don't have a question. I just have many flowers for your altar and many compliments.
So you brought the flowers.
Yeah, they're virtual flowers. I will send them in your DM later, so you'll find them. Thank God to WhatsApp and Google and all those things. But I must say, and I'm gonna say this in the best possible way, thank you for everything you've done with your music, with your fashion, with who you are as a person. Because one thing I love, Malditas Lágrimas, and that's for the soul sin, the Blikkie die Pinda. Like, how many Caribbean artists can actually say, hey, me doen Blikkie Pinda, after being bullied, called planters for years? And I really can see myself as a Blikkie Pinda now, and quem que tá pobre, me know, I'm joking. But I can say that with so much confidence thanks to you. Okay, so please keep doing that. And also, there's a lot of Aruban here, but I'm from Curacao, so know that your music, your words, they touch all of the ABC people. And furthermore,
Thank you.
Just keep pushing, just keep doing.
Thank you.
And for those who don't know, he actually connected me for Fashion Week and gave me a huge opportunity, and that's the type of person Darren is. He's just gonna look around himself and see who he can connect, and just keep being a connector and keep being you, because we got you just like you got us. So.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. Thank you. This means so much to me, and I would like to add something on top of that. I feel like also growing up on the island, I never had a role model that is also queer. So for me, seeing all of the musicians, local musicians, only stepping up for their own community, it never connected with me personally. So I felt like it's time now for us to wake up, to stand up, and to grab our identity and to move it. Yeah. 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 Thank you. Is it working?
Is it working? Okay, it's working now. The last question then we have is, right there.
Yes.
Is it a question or a comment? Be honest.
It's a genuine question because I'm so curious.
Okay.
So, like, I want to ask you about, like, how you found your sound. Because for me, like, hearing, like, I don't know what the instrument is called, but it's like the chapi, and then in the last song, like the bass, the weedy, the bass hits and it goes hard. And I'm like, I've never heard anything like this in my life, but it feels so close to home at the same time, and I'm just gagged. So I want to know, like, how did you find that? Like, how? I can't imagine. So please, anything you have to say, I'm so curious.
Thank you so much. What's your name, by the way, again?
Kiara. I'm Kiara.
Kiara.
Hi.
Thank you so much for the question, Kiara. How I found my sound. It's a good question. The thing is that at Rietveld, I used to do a lot of videos for the video department. And of course, they push you to go and record soundscape, sounds fields. And of course, I did them as a way of learning. I have my small tape cassettes, and I go everywhere and I record everything. And from there on, I started creating my own sounds for my music, for my videos, back at the basic here. And that means that also I started gravitating towards certain high frequencies or certain low frequencies while I was like listening back to these recordings that I was doing. And from there on, you develop your own taste, you develop your own catalog of sounds, right? And then from this catalog of sounds, you put them in these programs, and then you start experimenting. And that's what I do for most of my new works. I experiment. I lock myself in my room and just experiment only. Just doing weird sounds with my vocals, with my, and bringing that vocal again into MIDI, playing them again, you name it, just doing a lot of experimentation. And through this experimentation or these findings, you encounter yourself with different palettes that you like. And these palettes are kind of like also questioning about like, oh my God, this sound have a similar feeling of silk. This sound has a similar feeling of carpet. And then, of course, because I'm so visual, I intend to build a complete image in my head, an entire altar in my head. And then from this altar, I digest the color, the palette, the texture, and then from there on, build the sounds through that. So that means, for example, if I'm going to, let's say, I am working with a saint, right? Every saint has its block or like its pedestal, right? How would that pedestal sound like? And most of these pedestals are heavy. So for me, that's immediately a heavy bass, you know? And then slowly I digest the objects. Okay, it's in, she is wearing pink. How would this pink color sound in synth or in pads or in voice? So that's how I find my sound. And then I hear something, I like that, and I start developing that into a track. Yeah. Thank you.
So, if
there's more questions?
No, sorry, we don't have time for more questions. You can ask questions after.
Please, one question more.
Okay, I am forced by decree of the Lord to answer your question.
One more, please. Okay, allow me.
Hi, Darwin. Do you remember me?
I don't remember. That's why I was like, I have to give you this chance.
Thank you so much. I'm very astonished, very mind-blowing of your creativity is mind-blowing, amazing. I'm so very proud of you.
Thank you so much.
It took me 4 hours to reach here from Groningen, only to see you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
I finished work at 1 o'clock, and I ran to the train only because I wanted to experience this amazing evening with you. I'm his ex-teacher.
Yes.
At the St. Petersburg College, now ran at Bogart College, Sander Bogart College. And I remember Darwin, he was 6 years old. In groep 3, very shy, crying a lot because they were teasing him in school, but you could see his creativity already. He could paint very well, and he was very smart and outgoing, and I'm very, very proud of you.
Wow. Thank you so much.
Palabra verdad. Thank you, Darwin.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I really wanted to also thank you for allowing me to be myself and to also protect me from all of the other ones. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
That's so sweet. I'm so glad that I was forced by decree to allow the question. So now, since now, now there is definitely no more questions. Now we go to track 5 and track 6. Yes.
Let's go.
Track 5, Charmant.
Be charmant. Be charmant. Saque el toro, mi pretty wow. Déjame con Dios, Nitro me malicionó. Protéjame chango, cigarro fumo yo. Rezando en círculo, por las calles mando yo. El cielo no me asegura, muero solita en mi cuna. Mi cuerpo no tiene cintura, ay Mahuma se le llevó. Todos los poros se rezan por él, el piso rayado por Chevy Chávez, Capilla llorando por su Lucifer. Custal, yo marcando paso, los sombras son guapazos. Ay, yo marcando paso, los muertos se hacen caso. Bájale, 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 sé que todo lo crees contra la pared. Bájale, 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 a mí como me derivan otra vez. Bájale, 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 sé que todo lo crees contra la pared. Bájale, 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 a mí como me derivan otra vez. Be charmant. Dale, dale vuelta, falda folclórica. Santa Teresita, santifica mi hogar. Lumbra una velita, esta oscuridad. Sepulta los cuerpos con hierba auténtica. El cielo no me asegura, muero solita en mi cuna. Mi cuerpo no tiene cintura, ay Mahoma se le llevó. Todos los coros se rezan por él, el piso rayado por Chevy Chávez, Capilla llorando por su Lucifer. Custal, yo marcando paso, los sombras son guapas. Custal, yo marcando paso, los muertos se hacen caso. Bájale, 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 sé que todo lo tres contra la pared. Bájale, 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 a mí con mi medio van otra vez. Bájale, 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 sé que todo lo tres contra la pared. Bájale, 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 a mí con mi medio van otra vez. Uy, cabe su pena, cabe su pena. Cabe su pena, cabe su pena. Cabe su pena, cabe su pena. Cabe su pena, cabe su pena.
That was Charmant. Charmant is a song dedicated to all of the cars on Aruba, to all of the drifters on Aruba, to all of the men who died next to the roads on Aruba. It's basically about cars. It's basically about how we are so obsessed on cars, especially like pimping them up, let them look really nicely and
which you did here too.
Yeah. Having them nicely, using them as a weapon to almost like seduce women when you're riding them, you know? So all of those aspects I see as a kid. I see, you know, when I used to go on walks with my mom, you know, the symbolism that they gave to women is like they, how do you say, like doing their like ring next to the rose, you know? So that's like almost like you're saying hi to the women, like she's very hot, she's very nice. Like I thought that was not a nice way to do it either way, you know? So I just grabbed all of these things and put it into Charmant. And Charmant is a car that my dad used to drive, a Charmant.
Wow.
It's called Charmant. Charmant was the first car as well to win in drag race in Aruba, Palomarga.
Palomarga.
So I had to really kind of like research on that and then bring Charmant and also using the word like charming, you know,
Yeah,
Charmant.
charming. Yeah. It's also the kind of the seduction aspect, right?
The seduction aspect, of course. So yeah. Yeah. Thank you guys. Yeah.
I have to say, I love the sample of like the baja for me, baja for the. That means like get off of me in Pavimento.
Yes. For me, it was very important to kind of like bring in a quirky aspect to it, you know, because I see it also very quirky, these cars, actually. Yeah.
Beautiful. Yes. So, Charmant. That was Charmant, definitely. And the next one, the final track of the EP, Anemoia, is...
It's called Garavain, Morto.
You begin with life and you end with the death.
Yes.
Yo te preparo tu luz,
Thank you so much, guys. Thank you so, so much. I really appreciate it. This means a lot to me, especially this song. This song was dedicated to my best friend, Samantha. Samantha was my, like I said, best friend at Peterboer School. And we used to go school together, walking to school and then coming back home because we used to live really close to each other. She died on my birthday. And I thought and I remember clearly that she was always telling me and that time my family name is Dao, and she would say, Dao, you still have to make the white dress for me. And I remember she got sick, she got cancer, and then when I remember she passed away, they informed me, and then I went to her funeral, and they buried her in a white dress. So I felt like I never could have give her what she really wanted. So for me, this was a way to kind of like heal from that trauma. So yeah, that's what it was. Yeah. So thank you so much. This is my entire EP. It's out. It has a story from the beginning till the end. Like I said, I am holding the child and let him conduct me. And I think I also would love for everyone to do that with their own child, to hold their hands and let them conduct, and find that path you want, find that inner peace, inner child. Play again with yourself in a way of the most purity and sincere and honest way possible. Thank you for listening, having the patience and sitting here with me, enjoying the Friday with me. Who does that? So thank you so much. Thank you. Round of applause for everyone. Please, please, please.
Thank you so much.
What can I say? This was the evening, guys. This was it. Once again, I really appreciate everyone who came by train for hours, coming here to listen and enjoy it with me. The AP is out. So if you want to go back to it, listen to it, connect with it, it's on Spotify, all streaming services. And I really wanted to thank all of the people who helped me work with on the sound. You have bands who did help me with the recording of the vocals. Then you have the mixing engineer who is Hubert Steele. And then you have the master engineer who is Stastinsky, Ivo. And beautiful people like Ken, Natusha, Aleida, my siblings. I love them so much. My family, my mother, who helped push and push with no much money, but to really help me grow in my dreams. So I venerate her for forever. So thank you once again, guys. And before you guys leave, downstairs we're gonna be having drinks, some DJs.
Yes.
Karibang is playing. So please stay. Enjoy. I would like to see everyone. I would like to talk with everyone. And before you guys leave, in front, there's a book where you can sign your name, write something in it. That's such a traditional in First Communion.
Yeah, I was about to say, yeah.
The First Communion in Aruba. So please write something there. And so I can go back to it.
Yes.
And having your name in. Thank you so much once again, guys. Have a beautiful evening. See?
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
You want to
No.
finish it off? Performance?
No. I don't know. No, he said it's done.
Yeah, let's finish it.
Is that klaar? Is it klaar? Yeah, it's done. You don't want to do it?
No, because my throat is also dry.
No.
Yeah.
His throat. Yeah, it's okay.